Hi, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can help children to make amends when things have gone wrong. Sometimes with little people, we are keen that they learn to say sorry when they've done something to somebody else, that hurt somebody's feelings, or maybe done something to somebody's belongings. So we're keen for them to say sorry. Sometimes we get concerned if we feel like a child is not showing any remorse. Sometimes we say that. So we can struggle with that, how to help children to make amends, how we can help children to feel that what they have done has had an impact on somebody else. We might describe it as them struggling to develop empathy, something like that. So we have these difficulties. We want children that we're looking after, either our own children or children that we work with, to be able to identify when something they've done has upset somebody else. It could take quite a while for empathy to develop in children. And sometimes very young children might say sorry way before they actually understand what that means. So with quite young children, certainly in nursery and the first sort of year or two of primary school, saying sorry is not necessarily an indication of them feeling real empathy for somebody else. It might just be something they've learned to say, which can be helpful in some situations. But we maybe don't need to be too worried if the child hasn't really developed full empathy or the sense of remorse by that sort of age. So what can we do in those situations? Well, we want to help a child to put things right when they've done something that isn't great. Well, one of the difficulties that we have is that shame, the feeling of feeling ashamed of oneself, is an emotion that human beings try to avoid quite a lot, especially if we've not got somebody else there to sort of help us regulate that. It's very difficult to accept, and we generally try to avoid it. Even as adults, if we've done something wrong, we might struggle to own up to it. We might be keen that nobody notices what we've done wrong, perhaps. So it's an emotion that is really difficult for us as human beings. So it's quite hard if we're on the one hand trying to encourage a child to develop empathy, to be able to accept that what they've done has hurt somebody else, and to be doing that through encouraging them to feel one of the most challenging human emotions, shame. So on the one hand, we might be saying things like, look, can you see that, look what you've done to their model. It's ruined. You did that. Their model is ruined now. How do you think they feel? We might be saying these things, hoping that we're going to encourage the child to identify with the other child and what they've done wrong. That's difficult because we're doing it through trying to get them to feel bad about what they've done and feel that feeling of shame. So it's hard to do. So it's a difficult area. What do we do about it? There's a couple of things that can be helpful, and with all new ways of acting and interacting, this is something that is not just to learn it overnight, just one sitting and then we've learned that lesson. It's through lots and lots of repeated interactions that new habits and new ways of interacting become comfortable and second nature for us. So one of the things we can do is take a bit of a restorative approach. So we're just helping the child to just appraise the situation, see what's happened objectively, and then think, okay, what do we do to make this situation better? So, well, let's say if we take that situation, a child has knocked over somebody else's model, for example. You were both playing here, and this person had their model, you had your blocks you were playing with. And then their blocks got knocked over. I think you maybe did that. Okay, so their blocks are knocked over now. Okay. I don't know, how did you feel when you were doing that? They maybe feel disappointed their model is knocked over. I wonder what we can do to make this better. What can we do to put this right? Their model got knocked over. They feel a bit sad now. can we do to put this right again? So that's one thing that we can do. Try to encourage the child to, so we're doing it in a way that is fairly low emotional arousal. We're just describing what's happened, including how the other child feels. We don't need to lay it on too thick, but we can highlight they feel a bit sad that their model got ruined. So we're describing what has happened, and then we're saying, okay, what can we do to put it right? So that the child gets used to the idea that putting things right doesn't have to be something that they can't cope with and they flee from because it's just too much shame. Which is what they will be primed to do as human beings, try to avoid shame. So, oh, this has happened. What can we do to put it right? What needs to happen now? Which often will encourage the child to literally come up with something that they can do next. Okay, so it's a really good habit for them to get into. Okay, something's happened, what can we do now? Sometimes the child is really struggling to make amends, it's really struggling to put things right, and we can help them to do that. That's not backing away from it, that's not letting them get away with the situation. But a child might not be ready to fully do all of that themselves. So the situation might look a little bit like this. Their model got knocked over. Oops, that's not great. I think they feel a bit sad. Okay, I can help you to put this right. I can help you here. And you might even want to put your arm around the child. I'm going to help you to gather up those little blocks and we'll give them back. There we go. We can put it right. We can do this together. So you're helping the child, you're letting them know that you can support them to regulate this situation, which might feel a bit much alone. You can help them to make amends. So we're modeling that putting things right again after you've made a mistake doesn't have to be full of shame. We can help them to make amends. Another thing that's helpful to do is, as adults, for us to model saying sorry to each other and for us to model putting things right again. So let them see that. If you think you've hurt somebody's feelings, another member of staff that you work with, or another adult in the home, your partner maybe, and you think you've done something that's hurt that person's feelings, you can openly say, oh, you know what, I think I shouldn't have done that to you. I'm sorry, actually. I'm sorry that happened. Is there anything I can do to put it right? And just model doing that out loud. We're not infallible, and one of the main ways that children learn is through our examples. That might not be something that we're modeling too much because we're just sort of presenting ourselves as already being fully functioning adults. But if we're wanting them to learn how to apologize, we're wanting them to learn how to make amends, modeling it is really helpful. But then it's helpful for the other person then to sort of accept our apology openly. So that we're modeling this for the child, for them to say, oh, you know, yeah, that did hurt my feelings a little bit when you did that, you know. So, but thank you for apologizing. That makes a difference to me. So for the child to hear that out loud helps them to process, okay, this is normal, this is what happens. Okay, but those are a couple of things that we can do to help a child learn how to make amends. We can take a restorative approach with them, where we're describing what's happened in the situation. Okay, this has happened. Knock down the model. I think she feels a bit sad about that. It's okay. Let's see what we can do to put this right again. How can we make up for this? And we might need to add in that bit about, I can help you to put this right. So that they feel that it's easier to cope with and they can regulate that level of emotional difficulty that comes with those sorts of situations. And then the other one is that as adults, we're modeling saying sorry, modeling accepting apologies, we're modeling what it is to acknowledge that you've had your feelings hurt, acknowledge that you've hurt somebody else's feelings, and to have a conversation about how we're going to make amends and put things right. So it's not something that only happens in our heads or happens secretly away from children. They can see it and they can learn from it. Thank you.